Europe. A place where more than 500,000 villages still mark the land, hidden from sight. Many with origins tracing back over 1,000 to 2,000 years. It's a place where survival once meant living, clinging to mountain ridges and guarding river crossings. And sometimes even cutting farmland out of impenetrable forests. But within their boundaries, history is counted in centuries. Roughly 80% of Europe's medieval towns were originally fortified villages, and many still carry the same walls and gates. Timber houses in Alpine valleys date to the 15th century. Stone bridges from the Roman Empire still hold immense weight. And chapels ring bells that were cast before the Reformation. Herds still graze on high pastures, sheep crowding stone walls, and goats moving along cliffsides overlooking village roads. And the culture, well, it's as laid back as it is enduring. Europe is home to more than 200 regional languages and dialects, many spoken only in villages of a few thousand people. It's that place on Earth where time just stands completely still. Just like the castles that rise unchanged from the fairy tales they inspired. A monumental storm brews in the North Atlantic, with mega waves rolling toward cliffs that have shaped Europe's story for millennia. Villages here were born at the edge of this restless sea. Their survival bound to tides, fishing grounds, and the temper of storms. In the territories of Denmark, the ocean remains both lifeline and threat, anchoring Europe's most ancient rhythms. Sandavarga stretches along the coast of Varga in the Faroe Islands, its red-roofed homes tucked between mossy hills and cascading streams. A white church with a pointed steeple faces the sea. Sheep roam freely across the slopes. Nearby, Lake Sørvágsvatn creates an illusion, its surface appearing higher than the ocean beyond. Cliffs fall suddenly into crashing surf. Calcutta balances on a cliff of volcanic rock above the Treasure Valley, where erosion carved sheer drops on every side. Abandoned in the 20th century over fears of collapse, the village was reclaimed by artists and wanderers. Its medieval lanes are narrow and uneven, and the houses sit right at the edge, looking out into green and mist. Spies curves gently around Lake Sun, its vineyards rising behind a lakeside castle with roots in the 10th century. Mount Nissen, sharp as a pyramid, rises across the water. Among the few Alpine villages where wine still flows in local cellars, Spies preserves its hillside rhythm. Vine, water, stone, sky. On the shore of Lake Brienz, Iseltwald sits on a small peninsula, its chalets surrounded by blue-green water. Once a fishing hamlet, it grew into a quiet retreat framed by cliffs and conifer forests. A 19th century mansion still watches the lake from a rocky point. Minerals in the glacial water give it its vivid hue, like melted ice turned luminous. Gimmelwald rests quietly on a grassy ledge in the Bernese Alps, far above the valley floor. With no cars and few signs, it feels paused in time. Cows roam between homes, and wooden haylofts lean into the slope. Below, the cliffs drop steeply into Lauterbrunnen. Unlike Muren above, Gimmelwald remains more farm than resort. Wooden homes in Hallstatt press gently into the mountainside, shaped by the narrow valley between lake and cliff. Salt brought life here, first mined over 7,000 years ago, and still traces the village's story in stone. The Mühlbach stream winds through it, feeding a waterfall that slips behind rooftops before meeting the shimmering surface of Lake Hallstätter See. Lauterbrunnen is widely regarded as one of the most beautiful villages on planet Earth. It rests beneath sheer rock faces, where 72 waterfalls spill through hanging meadows into one of the Alps' deepest glacial valleys. Wooden chalets dot the slopes, cowbells echo across the grass, and Staubachfall drifts from above like falling silk. In 1911, Tolkien walked here and carried its image home with him. Inspiration for Lord of the Rings. The village breathes with the rhythm of meltwater and mist. There's something just sublime and peaceful in the air here. Wengen overlooks the Lauterbrunnen Valley from a natural terrace where trains now climb instead of feet. Alpine peaks, the Eiger, Mönch and Jungfrau, stand in full view. Wooden hotels and chalets still wear the elegance of the 1920s, when early tourists arrived with trunks and walking sticks. Access remains only by rail, preserving its gentle rhythm. Varenna faces the calm waters of Lake Como, its pastel buildings clinging to the eastern shore. Stone paths weave up the hill from the ferry dock, and cypress trees line the gardens of old villas. Painters and poets have long stayed here, drawn by the clarity of light and the stillness of reflection. Trains and boats connect it, but never disturb it. La Roque-Gajac lies pinned between the Dordogne River and a towering limestone cliff. Golden stone homes line the riverbank, their windows catching the late light. In 1957, a massive rockfall destroyed part of the village, but it was rebuilt in harmony with the land. Canoes glide past its gardens, and tropical plants grow along its sheltered edge. Rain spreads across a chain of islets in Norway's Lofoten archipelago, backed by jagged peaks that rise directly from the sea. Råbur, traditional red fishermen's cabins, stand on stilts above water, clear enough to reflect every cloud. In winter, the northern lights arc overhead. In summer, the sun barely sets. The village rests between cold currents and warm light. Grindelwald rests beneath the north face of the Eiger, surrounded by meadows that roll up into stone. Wooden chalets cluster in the valley, their balconies overflowing with flowers in summer. The village first appeared in records in 1146, but it was British climbers in the 1800s who brought it fame. Today, a cable car rises to the summit of First. Kastraki lies beneath the rock pillars of Meteora in central Greece, its tiled roofs pointed toward heaven. Monasteries perch above on cliffs that seem sculpted by gods. The village below is quiet, built in deference to stone. In the morning, mist moves between the columns. Trails lead up, and the silence grows with every step. Muren sits above the Lauterbrunnen Valley on a shelf of stone and snow. No roads lead here, just trains and cable cars that rise from the valley floor. Wooden homes face the peaks across open air, their roofs angled for snowfall and silence. In winter, avalanches fall from distant cliffs like breath. The whole village seems to balance on the edge of the sky. Odda lies at the end of Surfjorden, where waterfalls thread down vertical walls and meltwater feeds the fjord. In the early 20th century, rivers powered massive hydroelectric plants that lit the factories below. Today, Odda is better known as the gateway to Trolltunga, a granite tongue that juts out above 1,000 feet of air. Positano spills toward the Tyrrhenian Sea, its stairways wrapped in jasmine and lemon. Legend says a ship heard a voice cry, "Posa," and came to rest here. Narrow lanes snake through arches and gardens, descending toward a beach where the surf brushes the edge of town. Pastel homes cling to rock, leaning gently over the water in search of light. In Mandrakia, white homes settle into the cliffs of Milos, where sea caves hide beneath bright doors and carved stone garages. This fishing village keeps its rhythm with the tides. Each sirma once bore its own color, painted to be spotted from the open sea. Close by, the village of Klima follows the same coast in silence. Chamonix lies at the foot of Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Western Europe. Peaks like Aiguille du Midi rise around it like daggers. Here, modern mountaineering was born. The town thrums with energy. Climbers in summer, skiers in winter. A cable car lifts visitors into the clouds, revealing glaciers, spires, and the deep breath of altitude. Zermatt rests in the shadow of the Matterhorn, a pyramid of ice and stone that looms like a monument. The village is car-free, its streets quiet, except for the crunch of snow and the whisper of boots. It was British climbers who first drew fame here, seeking the summit. In winter, ski trails ribbon down from glacier to valley. Moustier Sainte-Marie nestles in a cleft between two limestone cliffs, a stream running beneath arched bridges through the center of town. A gold star hangs suspended between the cliffs above, its chain affixed to both rock faces. Legends surround its origin. The village lies just beyond the Verdon Gorge, where green water cuts deep into the earth. Porres de Candelaria sits within a sea cave on the coast of La Palma, carved into volcanic cliffs where waves crash endlessly below. Built by fishermen seeking shelter from the Atlantic, homes here use rock as wall and roof. The ocean echoes in every room. At night, the tide fills the cave, rising like breath in the dark. Castelmezzano hides within the jagged teeth of the Lucanian Dolomites, its houses tucked into stone like birds' nests. Legend says it was settled by those fleeing Saracen invasions, using the cliffs as a natural wall. The town remains quiet, its streets narrow, its homes folded into the rock. The mountain winds here seem to carry stories. Castemezzano's twin, Pietra Pertosa, sits across the Lucanian Dolomites, also carved into stone, also still. The two are now linked by a steel zipline that whips travelers between peaks, but the towns themselves remain slow and enduring. Pietra Pertosa holds a Saracen fortress above its homes, and its alleys climb through bare rock like veins. On the island of Madeira, Seychelles unfurls between cliffs and black sand beaches. Mist coils through subtropical forests, and waterfalls trace the island's volcanic slopes. The soil is rich with ash, feeding terraced gardens that cling to hillsides. Waves press into sea caves, and just beyond the village, the Atlantic breathes with quiet rhythm against the shore. In South Tyrol, Santa Maddalena lies folded in the Funes Valley, backdropped by the jagged peaks of the Dolomites. Its pastures ripple with grass, interrupted only by a church named after Mary Magdalene. Legend says her image appeared here, marking the spot. Cows graze beneath the spires, and mist settles slowly in the folds between trees. Portofino curves around a quiet, natural harbour where pastel buildings lean into one another. It once held only fishermen and monks, but its beauty soon drew artists and aristocrats. The hills above are draped in olive trees and wildflowers. From the water, the village appears like a painted fan, unfolding across the base of a green amphitheater. Alligae reflects the Dolomites in the still waters of its lake, a mirror made by landslide and snowmelt. The village curves along the shore, hemmed in by peaks and alpine forests. Mount Civetta looms above, a wall of sheer stone known to climbers as the Wall of Walls. In winter, pink light touches the slopes in an alpine glow. Foroglio waits deep in the Bavona Valley, where granite cliffs drop suddenly and rivers run cold. A waterfall from the Calnegia River crashes just beyond the cluster of slate-roofed homes. No power lines run here. Electricity never reached the valley. Nearby, the village of Sonono shares the same stillness, where stone meets forest without interruption. As the Alps rise into the sky, Ramsau appears like a painting drawn by memory. A white church stands quietly at the edge of a brook, its bell tower reflected in icy water. Wooden homes cling to the hills behind it, steep-roofed and flower-trimmed. In early morning, cowbells echo before the mist clears. Further north, Hamnoi stands above Arctic waters in the Lofoten Islands, its red cabins raised on stilts above mirror-black seas. Mountain walls close in around the bay, guarding the quiet. Once reachable only by boat, it was a place defined by cod and seasons. Today, its stillness lingers long after the last boat pulls away. Not far beyond, Rainy leans into its own reflection beneath Reinebringen's towering spine. Rawbur cabins face the fjord, while stone steps, built by Himalayan Sherpas, climb toward wind and sky. Even in summer, the light stretches past midnight. The salt-dried stockfish that once fed the nation still hang from racks, drying beneath the endless sun. Giethoorn drifts through the wetlands of the Netherlands, where roads give way to canals and bridges. Thatched cottages sit on small islands, fronted by arched footbridges and manicured lawns. Boats glide silently past open windows. The village dates back to peat cutters and reed harvesters, though today it moves with oars rather than axes. Burano floats within the Venetian lagoon, its homes painted in bright hues to pierce the morning fog. Along quiet canals, each colour marks a family's claim to place and memory. Lacework hangs in small shops beside narrow bridges. The church of San Martino leans slightly, as if listening for the sea. The next stretch begins in Atrani, where homes rise vertically from the mouth of the Dragone Valley, climbing toward the cliffs that guard the Amalfi coast. Paths wind through arches and up stone staircases, linking rooftops to the sea. The church of Santa Maria Maddalena perches above it all, facing the Tyrrhenian. Among Italy's smallest villages, Atrani fits entirely within a single breath of coastline. To the north, Henningsvær spreads across small islets in Norway's Lofoten chain, linked by narrow bridges. Red and yellow fishing huts sit beneath snowy ridgelines, their reflections shimmering in still harbour water. Winter cod once brought wealth to these islands, and the sea still rules their rhythm. A football field built atop bedrock overlooks the Arctic, green in summer, white by October. On the island of Mykonos, Kora stretches in a maze of cobbled lanes and whitewashed homes, each window framed in blue or red. The town is a canvas of light and shadow, where churches rise with round domes and tiny bells. In the quarter called Little Venice, balconies lean out above the sea, as if listening to waves from the past. In Alberobello, roofs spiral skyward. The truly stone huts with conical tops dot the landscape like fossils of forgotten architecture. Built without mortar, they once evaded taxes by being easily dismantled. Their grey limestone contrasts with the whitewashed walls below. Some are centuries old, still standing as homes, shops, and quiet reminders of local ingenuity. Marsak's Lock wraps around a harbour lined with boats painted in folkloric reds, yellows and blues. The eyes of Osiris peer from each bow, a tradition tracing back to Phoenician and Egyptian beliefs. On Malta's southern shore, this fishing village still holds its market under canvas sails. The smell of salt, octopus and diesel hangs in the air. Ronda stands divided by a gorge. Homes and churches sit on both sides, their stone facades clinging to the edges above El Tajo. The new bridge connects the cliffs, a span of arches built over decades, replacing earlier versions that collapsed. Bandits once roamed these hills, and writers later followed, drawn by danger and the view. In the Verdzaska Valley, Lavatezzo spreads around green water and polished stone. The Verdzaska River cuts through the mountains with glacial clarity, its emerald current flowing beneath a double-arched stone bridge. This jump bridge, as it's known, once fell to flood and was rebuilt. Houses with slate roofs line the valley, their walls built to hold winter out. Saint-Saffarin curls along the slopes above Lake Geneva, wrapped in the terraced vineyards of the Lavaux. Its stone homes press close, shaped by centuries of winemaking and steep terrain. Narrow lanes lead down to the lake, where the air smells of soil and grapes. The village owes its prosperity to monks and merchants who carved wine paths into the hill. Caverno lies high in Switzerland's Valle Maggia, where stone homes gather in tight rows under steep gorges. The slate rooftops and narrow alleys have changed little over time. Generations here lived by livestock and quiet hands. A sense of slowness settles in the valley. Each winter, snow seals the village into itself, muffling even the river. Maratea is scattered across the slopes of Basilicata, its rooftops hidden between peaks and ravines. Known as the City of 44 Churches, its spires pierce through forest and fog. Above the village, a towering statue of Christ stretches toward the sea, arms wide above the Tyrrhenian. Maratea remained isolated by road well into the 20th century. Rothenburg, ob der Taube, stands encircled by 14th century walls, its towers and turrets untouched by time. The medieval town centre unfolds in perfect symmetry. Timbered homes in shades of gold and red-line cobbled squares. Once a free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire, it avoided modernization. At night, lantern-lit patrols still walk the streets in silence. In Portugal, Monsanto appears to grow from the mountain itself. Homes lean into massive granite boulders, their rooftops crushed under the weight of time. Streets wind through stone, not around it. Some houses use boulders as walls or entire ceilings. The village is built on a cooled magma dome, where geology became architecture by necessity. Kotor lies cradled at the end of Montenegro's fjord-like bay, ringed by stone walls and jagged peaks. Within its maze of alleys, Venetian windows open to mountain air. Built for trade and defense, its streets twist without symmetry, always climbing or turning. The fortress above requires 1,000 steps, each one carved into stone by centuries of invaders and protectors. Flom tucks into the end of Orlan Fjord, surrounded by vertical green slopes and waterfalls that burst from cliff faces. A railway winds through the mountains, climbing steeply into the sky. the village feels folded into its own fjord-shaped silence. In spring, the waterfalls roar and cruise ships gather. In summer, the cliffs are alive with movement and moss. Cadaqués bends gently into a bay on Spain's easternmost coast, its white homes and blue trim reflected in shallow water. Dalí lived and painted here. Other artists pass through, drawn by the raw coastlines and tilted skies. The streets twist like vines, and the air smells of olive trees and salt. Light moves differently along this edge of land. Perast lies quiet along the Bay of Kotor, its stone facades facing the Adriatic with weathered calm. Behind it rise steep mountains. Before it, two islets, one natural, one man-made, float in still water. Once part of the Venetian Republic, the village grew around navigation and trade. The artificial island, Our Lady of the Rocks, rests on the bones of sunken ships. Primoston began as an island, walled and bridged for defense. Today, its terracotta rooftops still crowd the hilltop, wrapped in narrow stone lanes that circle downward toward coves and pine trees. Vineyards rise inland over rocky terraces shaped by wind and time. The Adriatic air here holds a softness that settles slowly over stone and sea. On Santorini, Oia traces a line along the caldera's rim, its domed churches and whitewashed homes curling toward the sea. Once carved into the volcanic rock for warmth and shelter, these homes now open to long sunsets and quiet winds. Steps lead downward to Amudi Bay, where the cliffs burn orange before the light fades. Setenil de las Bodegas tucks itself under stone, where massive overhangs shelter white homes from sun and rain. The Trejo River carved the gorge over time, and the village followed its path, folding into the rock. Some homes sit half in, half out, cool in summer, warm in winter. The rock itself forms their ceiling, thick with the weight of centuries. Perched on a hill above the French Riviera, Aires winds through narrow lanes lined with stone. Its elevation offers a view that spans Monaco to the sea, earning it the nickname Eagle's Nest. The village once belonged to the House of Savoy and retains its medieval core. Paths pass beneath vaulted arches, thick with lavender and sun. Monschau wraps itself in half-timbered homes tucked tightly along the Ruhr River in western Germany. In the 17th century, it flourished on wool and weaving, its wealth stitched into every gabled roof and slate tile. A castle watches from above, while cobbled lanes cross under wooden beams. The scent of bread and smoke lingers in the still morning air. By the way, friends, have you seen the free Travpedia VIP link in the description of this video? It's your gateway to travel deals and products for Globetrotters. No sign-up is required. Just visit travpediavip.com today and begin your journey for free. Albarracin rises along a sandstone ridge, its pink walls reflecting the desert light of eastern Spain. Winding lanes lead upward through Islamic fortifications, past the 10th century walls that once shielded the town. At the top, the Torre del Andador looks over the Sierra. The streets remain narrow, curved by centuries, untouched by any modern grid. Bellagio sits at the fork where Lake Como splits in two, its stone lanes descending toward calm water. Cypresses and villas line the peninsula, while distant snowcaps flicker behind. In the 19th century, aristocrats built gardens here, entranced by the reflections and mild air. The village earned its nickname, the Pearl of the Lake, through quiet elegance rather than size. Beilstein hugs a curve of the Moselle River, backed by terraced vineyards and guarded by the ruins of Metternich Castle. Often called the sleeping beauty of the Moselle, its half-timbered homes and narrow lanes make it a favorite for film crews. Wine has flowed here for centuries, and the river still defines its pace. At Germany's southern edge, Füssen drapes itself beneath castle walls and mountain peaks. Once a centre for luthiers who crafted violins and lutes, the village holds echoes of song in its stone. Just outside town, Neuschwanstein Castle rises like a storybook dream. Wagner once walked here, inspired by both myth and ridge. Geiranger sits where steep cliffs meet deep water, cupped within a narrow fjord in western Norway. Farms cling to impossible slopes, some now abandoned to snow and silence. The Seven Sisters and the Suta waterfalls fall from above, their stories as familiar as their roar. Cruise ships drift quietly into the inlet each summer and disappear by fall. Rovinj leans into the Adriatic from the edge of Croatia's Istrian peninsula. Its old town, once an island, now flows seamlessly into the mainland, with narrow stone lanes rising toward the church of St. Euphemia. Venetian facades, painted in soft reds and yellows, face the sea. Laundry hangs above the alleys. The tides, once defensive, now reflect only peace. Monemvasia clings to a limestone outcrop off the Peloponnese, hidden from the mainland by a sheer cliff face. Connected by a narrow causeway, its medieval alleys remain untouched by cars. Stone homes stack upward beneath a fortress wall facing the Aegean. Once a Byzantine stronghold, the town preserves a past carved in volcanic rock and sharpened by wind. By the way, friends, if you haven't done so already, please press the like button for us. Also, be sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon. On Iceland's northern coast, Húsavík faces a cold bay where whales breach like slow thunder. Humpbacks and minkies arc from the water, sometimes joined by blue whales in early summer. Once a whaling hub, the town now thrives on marine tourism. Colourful houses edge the harbour, and the wooden church stands as both landmark and lookout. In Turkey's Black Sea region, Uzungöl gathers around a lake formed by landslides, ringed by thick forest and mist. Minarets rise beside pine trees. Homes climb the slopes above, and the air stays damp year-round. It's quiet here, the landscape soft with moss and cloud. Locals farm trout and maize, shaped by a rhythm older than road. Sidi Bou Said stands white and blue above the Mediterranean, its domes and doorways bathed in the light of northern Tunisia. Cobbled paths climb between ironwork balconies and quiet cafes. It became a haven for artists in the 20th century, drawn by its color and calm. The view from the bluff rolls endlessly toward the sea. Dam spreads out from a windmill on Belgium's flat northern plains, laced with canals and distant echoes of Bruges. Once a medieval port, the sea receded, leaving behind fields and slow water. The dam's Vaart Canal now links it to its past. Geese walk the roads. The windmill still turns, grinding more story than grain. Parity rises between rainforest and sea, its stone streets washed clean by the tide. Once a link in Brazil's gold trade, it now rests quietly along the green coast. The architecture is pure Portuguese, but the rhythm belongs to the Atlantic. At high tide, the ocean drifts into the village, leaving reflections that shimmer across whitewashed walls. Ujguli lies high in Georgia's Caucasus, surrounded by peaks where snow lingers long after spring. The village is a cluster of medieval hamlets, their stone towers, koshki, once used to defend against raids. Roads turn to mud in winter and disappear in snow. Yet life endures here, as it has for centuries, under the shadow of Saqqara's glacial wall. Nusfjord curves around a narrow harbour in Norway's Lofoten Islands, its red wooden cabins reflected in deep, cold water. Fishing defined this place, and the past lingers in the racks of cod, still drying in Arctic air. The village is one of Norway's oldest, preserved like a pocket of time carved between rock and sea. Nesso clings to the steep shore of Lake Como, where a waterfall splits the town in two. Stone steps connect homes to the lake, passing under archways and across bridges. The Church of Saints Peter and Paul marks the village's heart. Its narrow streets trace a vertical world where forest and stone fall directly into water. Dolchaqua rests at the foot of Ligurian hills, watched over by the ruins of the Doria castle. The Nervia River cuts through the village, crossed by a medieval arched bridge that Claude Monet once painted in shades of gold. The town's alleys curve under archways and rise between slate walls. Vineyards climb behind it, soaking in the Ligurian sun. Rio Maggiore rises steeply from the Ligurian Sea, its narrow buildings stacked like a cascade of color. A small marina hides between rock outcrops, where boats sway gently in a quiet cove. Homes are divided into fondi, stone cellars below and living quarters above. The railway threads through tunnels to connect it to the rest of Cinque Terre, though it still feels remote. Vernazza lies tucked between vineyard-covered cliffs, its tiny harbour barely visible until you're almost upon it. A castle ruin keeps watch from above, while the church of Santa Margherita anchors the shoreline. The train didn't arrive until the 19th century, helping preserve a rhythm shaped more by waves and walking than by roads or rails. Polignano a Mare sits atop a limestone cliff above the Adriatic, where sea caves pierce the rock like hidden rooms. Whitewashed homes lean over the edge, their balconies hanging above the blue. Lama Monachile Beach lies below, wedged between stone walls. Some caves hold restaurants, others just echo with water and wind. Altea steps gently down Spain's eastern coast, a cascade of white homes marked by blue-tiled domes. Built on a hill, its winding stairways connect quiet terraces to the sea below. Once under Arab rule, its irrigation channels and steep lanes still reflect that era. At its crown, the Church of Our Lady of Consolation rises in cerulean light. Siurana perches above the cliffs of Catalonia's Montsant range, surrounded by orange rock and quiet wind. Its last Moorish queen is said to have leapt from its cliffs on horseback. Today, it remains small, carved from stone and shaped by legend. The view stretches endlessly across forested hills and winding valleys, each echo softened by height. Riglos stands beneath towering cliffs, the Malhos de Riglos, where vertical rock formations rise in red and orange tones. Climbers cling to their surfaces while eagles circle above. The village is small, almost swallowed by the stone. Centuries of erosion shaped these walls, but the people below live slowly, among silence, shadows, and rust-colored light. Valdemossa lies high in Mallorca's Tramuntana Mountains, its tiled rooftops cupped by oak forests and soft ridges. Chopin and George Sand came seeking warmth and clarity, but winter proved damp and cold. Still, the town inspired music and memoir. The Charter House stands above the village, a former monastery wrapped in quiet cloisters and mountain air. Lungen curves beside its namesake lake in the Swiss canton of Obwalden. The water shimmers turquoise from glacial minerals, and homes rise in neat rows beneath green pastures. Farming and alpine tourism shape daily life. In summer, wildflowers cover the hills. In winter, the snow arrives like a hush, settling gently on rooftops and barns. Gosau sits in the shadow of the Darkstein Mountains, its valley carved by glaciers and softened by grazing fields. Alpine cottages stand painted and flower-trimmed. Herds climb to high pastures in summer, then return through festivals that honor transhumance. The stillness here is pierced only by cowbells and distant echoes from the cliffs above. Heiligenblut rests at the foot of Großglockner, Austria's highest peak. The Church of St. Vincent rises like a needle against the sky, built to house a relic said to contain Christ's blood. The air is sharp, the village quiet beneath snow and shadow. Pilgrims still come, as they have for centuries, stepping slowly through its winding lanes. Stepantsminda stands in Georgia's Terek Valley, beneath the great flank of Mount Kazbek. The Gogeti Trinity Church sits high above, its dome visible from every corner of the town. Myth and mountain meet here, where Amirani, Georgia's Prometheus, was said to be chained. Wind from the Caucasus moves through the village with a steady breath. Tionovik sits at the end of a long valley in the Faroe Islands, where green cliffs drop into the North Atlantic. Dark wooden houses huddle together, some with grass rooftops that blur into the hills. From the shore, the sea stacks known as the Giant and the Witch stand offshore, carved by tide and legend. Saksun rests at the end of a winding road in the Faroe Islands, tucked between steep cliffs and a tidal lagoon. Grass-roofed homes line a narrow path toward a stone church that overlooks the sea. The fjord once welcomed boats, but shifting sand closed its mouth. Now the water creeps in quietly with each tide and leaves without sound. Undradal clings to the edge of Aurlandsfjord, its wooden homes gathered between steep cliffs and cold water. With only a few dozen residents, it is known more for its brown goat cheese than its size. The smallest stave church in Norway still holds services here, built in 1147. Cows graze just steps from the shoreline. Lavaterzo lies within Ticino's Verzasca Valley, where emerald water flows beneath the Ponte dei Salti, a double-arched Romanesque bridge. Stone houses line the riverbank, with slate roofs and slow mornings. Swimmers leap from cliffs in summer. The Verzasca's clarity reveals every pebble below, and the current shapes the rocks into curves older than memory. Solio perches on a ledge in Switzerland's Bregaglia Valley, where cobbled lanes pass under stone archways and between tall, weathered homes. Poet Rainer Maria Rilke once called it the gateway to paradise. Chestnut trees grow at its edges, and the sound of cowbells echoes across the meadows. The granite cliffs above catch the last golden light. Ortisei lies in Val Gardena, nestled in the Dolomites, where peaks sharpen against Alpine skies. It is known for wood carving, a tradition passed through generations. Balconies burst with flowers in summer, and in winter, ski slopes descend right into the village. Laden culture shapes the signs and songs, preserving a language older than the borders around it. Bled surrounds a glacial lake, its centerpiece an island with a white church and ringing bell. A castle stands above on a rocky cliff, watching over pine trees and mirrored water. Pletna boats drift slowly across the lake, rowed by hand. Legends echo around the island, but the silence here always returns with the breeze. Velika Planina stretches across Alpine pastureland in Slovenia, its wooden herdsmen's huts scattered like stones in the grass. Cows roam freely, and bells ring softly in the distance. In spring, wild crocuses bloom between the huts. The tradition of seasonal herding continues, unchanged by time. Smoke rises from chimneys, and the clouds settle low on the peaks. Škofja Loka rests where two rivers meet, watched over by a castle set high on a hill. Its old town remains one of the best preserved in Slovenia. Gothic, Baroque and Renaissance, all folded into cobbled streets. Once ruled by bishops, the town carries layers of church and commerce. Wooden bridges still span the water, and the light moves slowly through the lanes. Rastoke lies where rivers merge and drop suddenly over stone, forming dozens of waterfalls that cut through the village. Homes perch on rock ledges above rushing water. Called the Small Plitvase, it was once a milling hub, with water wheels still turning under some houses. The roar of the falls is ever present, softened by the moss that clings to every stone. Bosa stretches along the Temo River in western Sardinia, its pastel homes reflecting in the still water. The Malaspina castle watches from above, and fishing boats drift past houses painted in blues, pinks and ochres. Along its narrow lanes, traditional filet lace is still woven, and the scent of myrtle lingers on the air. Castel Sardo rises from a volcanic promontory in northern Sardinia, its streets winding upward toward a castle wrapped in ramparts. Fishermen still mend nets along the harbour, and the cathedral overlooks cliffs and sea. Its Doria walls once held pirates at bay. Now they hold history, caught in the wind between church bell and wave. Baunai overlooks the Gulf of Orosei from a high limestone ridge. Below it lie hidden beaches and sea caves, reached only by foot or boat. The town itself is rugged and simple, shaped by shepherds and stone. Paths lead into the Supramonte Mountains, where silence deepens and the sky feels closer with every step. Civita di Bagnoregio stands on a fragile cliff of volcanic tuff, slowly eroding with each passing decade. A footbridge connects it to the world. Inside, time barely moves. Stone homes lean together in silence. Nicknamed the Dying Town, it has outlasted prophecy so far, held up by restoration, faith, and 1,000 quiet mornings wrapped in fog. Saturnia glows with geothermal warmth, where hot springs cascade in limestone terraces just outside the village. The town itself is quiet, medieval and compact, but the waters below bubble steadily, day and night. Locals bathe year-round in sulfur-scented pools, carved by time and held in blue. Roman ruins lie scattered in the fields. Castel del Monte, nestled in Abruzzo's Gran Sasso range, holds tight to its high pastures. Shepherds still move flocks through town. Homes are simple, built of pale stone and wood. The village turns golden at sunset, and in winter, wind cuts through the lanes with sharp memory. It remains quiet, self-contained, and deeply tied to land. Enjoyed this documentary? Click the thumbnail on your screen to watch the next one. We think you'll love it.